What's good, guys? It's Julian. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make warehouse techno and super dreamy like KAS. As usual, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, literally everything from the video that you just heard in the intro is available right at the top of the description on my website. Definitely go grab it. This is a great way to take your tracks to the next level right immediately now, today. Go grab it while it's still available. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Every little bit helps. And let's dive in. So, we are at 136 BPM, a little bit faster, especially for like this kind of more dreamy techno. I think it makes it really unique though. I think one, it gives it a more like upbeat feel, and two, it just kind of like makes it stand out a bit from other tracks. The first thing we have here is the sidechain. So all this is it's just the kick, and you can see I just made it really short, and yeah, we're just using like a little tiny bit of that, and that's what we're sidechaining things to. And then the first thing that you can hear that we have right here is actually going to be the rumble kick. Now, this kick has 4 layers to it. So we have the low end, which is just a kick like this sample that I made. And then I'm taking just the lows. EQ3 is a really great way to do this. It's built into Ableton, and you can like very easily layer your drums together because we're taking the lows, and then we have the mids and highs over here from this other kick. And yeah, and then you put those together and you get just one really nice kick. And this allows you to take, like, you know, this kick, for example, had really good low end, but it didn't really have like the mids and highs like I wanted. You know, because I wanted that really punchy low end like you get from this type of kick, but then that more clicky like 808 kick type of mids and highs. But then if you listen to the one that we use for the mids and highs that has that, it doesn't really have the low end. So it's a great way to take 2 kicks that are just really good on their own, but just like kind of have a little bit too much of one thing but not enough of the other, and make one kick that is everything that you want. And as long as you don't overprocess it or try to like mess with the levels too much, it'll blend really seamlessly. So that's the first thing. Then the next layer in this kick is the rumble. Now what I've done here is we actually have this muted track here called Rumble Live. And so this is the rumble, right? It's one of those kicks I just showed you, going through a bit of reverb, an amp, and then a low pass filter, and then you can actually ignore this utility, right? And what's happening here is this creates the rumble, but if you listen, it's not a very steady rumble. Like if you listen, a lot of these hits are slightly different, and some will be a little bit more full, some will be a little bit quieter, and you'll kind of have like an uneven thing, right? Like you can hear there's more bass in some of those, and then some of them sound kind of thin. So to solve this, what you can do is just make this rumble, right? Again, it's just that standard reverb rumble, but then freeze it out to audio. And that's what I did here. And then if you actually look at the waveform for this, you can see like all these individual little things like from the reverb, like I was saying. And you can see like the waveforms are different. Like over here, the waveform looks like that. But over here, it looks like that. So you can see this is actually like creating a lot of different little variations throughout here. But what we did is I just grabbed this one little chunk, and then you just repeat that and get a really steady rumble. So it's very easy to do because in Ableton you can just freeze stuff out. But I wanted to show you guys how to do that. I think it'll give you a little bit more powerful and full rumble. And then all you got to do is you don't have to worry about any side chaining. You just take that quarter note size chunk and just use the fades and make it follow the kick. And there you go. And then the last layer here is this guy. So what this is it's actually the main kick, right? If I turn this all off, you can see it's literally just the kick. Just right, so it's a kick. I high passed it. Then it's going through this delay, which creates like the 16th note, kind of rhythm. And then we have a low pass filter with an LFO doing saw wave quarter notes down. So it's like kind of going down while this delay is doing 16th notes. This is doing quarter notes. And then I have an amp, which obviously just brings that out a lot more. You know, it makes that a lot more full and compresses it a little bit. I have some drum bus, and that's what really takes it to being like more full. And then I have this utility, which is cutting this stereo width down a lot. Right, so now we're just getting a little bit of stereo, but it's mostly mono, and that's really what you want. But then also this has this automation on it where it makes it kind of bounce off the kick. You can see it's just this, yeah, like the volume. And it makes it just duck out of the way for the kick. So this is the exact same thing that would be happening. Like if you had LFO Tool or Shaperbox in one of those kind of plugins, that's exactly what that does. It's just this is like the way to do it with automation and without a plugin. And then finally I just have a high pass filter just to cut out the lows. Because again, you really just want this to sit on top of the kick, kind of like almost like a background percussion, but part of the kick. And yeah, so then the next thing we have here is the percussion. So it's actually pretty simple, right? Like we just have, you know, a nice fat hi-hat. A bit shorter and more like mid-rangey. I think that's the main thing with this. Is not like any magical processing, but it's like just what type of sample you're using. Like this is a really short hi-hat, especially for techno. But it grooves really well with everything. Just to have that little poking through. Like if you had much more, it would be too much. Then we have this little shaker loop. So it's basically just straight 16th notes, right? But it's these two different samples. So it kind of creates some nice variation there. And then the last thing is just a bit of noise actually inside of Operator. And you can hear how that fits in. So that's just coming like at the end of the bar. And then it's like once every 2 bars basically. And it's just some white noise, a bit of redux here to kind of make it more crunchy, some reverb, and then a high pass. And then on the group with all that percussion, it's just a little bit of reverb. Not too much. Again, you really don't want to overprocess this. Like, it's more about finding good samples from the start. Then we have this 303. So what's happening here is we're in the key of E minor, and what we're doing is it's playing this C major, which is actually like the 6th, and then it's switching over to that minor chord, and you get like a very epic feel from that, like going from that 6th, the major 6th, to the minor root chord. Right, it gives it a very deep kind of feeling. And the other thing that's happening here are these glides. So you can see, this is like this polyrhythm, where it's basically like dun, 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 like that. So we just have quarter notes, like these low notes are just quarter notes, and then these are just 8th notes up here that it's sliding up to. And I took some of the glides out too, like just really using my ear, just whatever sounded good in the beat. But then what's also happening there, so there's the glide happening in the MIDI, and there's also a glide happening inside of the sound, right? You can see we have this on the monophonic setting, and there's some glide. But then there's also this arpeggiator here. And so these are 8th notes and quarter notes. But then the arpeggiator is doing 16th notes with the steps on 2. So it's adding 2 octaves where it's gliding up. And what's happening is I set this gate just right. If you tweak it like any more, you can see you don't get the slide, right? But then if you do it too much, you don't get enough of the glide, right? So you have to very carefully tune that using your ear. And then you can create this really cool 303 where it's using what you're doing in the MIDI. But see, like, I'm playing these notes now, and you get these cool kind of patterns being created just because of what's happening in the glide and in the notes you're playing, and then the arpeggiator working together with that. For the actual sound here, it's just a square wave and a saw wave in operator with no FM, and then a bandpass with a hard shaper and a little envelope, and some key tracking as well. And then we have an LFO on the filter to give it even more movement, which really helps to make the 303 come to life. Then we just have a bit of echo, a high pass filter, and then it's being sidechained to that sidechain layer. Then we have the pad. So now this pad is not technically playing, like you saw that progression that the 303 was playing, but if you look at this, see, this is actually technically starting on an E minor chord and then going up to G major. So like the 303 was doing the major 6 to the minor root note. This is doing a minor root note to a major 3rd. So it's like kind of different, but it's all those little harmonies coming together that are making it work. And with this pad, what's happening is this is like kind of all of the MIDI here, and then the second layer is actually just playing some of the low notes. I just literally copied all of this and just deleted some of the high notes. So once you know this, you know it all. Again, this is just like this chord here, so we're doing like a root note, a major 6th actually, another 6th, another root note, another 6th, and another root note, and then a 5th, right? So it's like this very like kind of dark chord because of all those 6th and root notes coming together, and then you have a high 5th up top. And then here, so that's like a root note, or major 3rd because it's a major chord, another root note, another major 3rd, a 6th, another major 3rd. So again, like, not that complicated. If you know what you're doing, it's not hard to write these chords. Now, for the actual sound, the first layer sounds like that, and it's made with operators. So we got 2 saw waves, a low pass filter with a bit of key tracking in reverse, and then an LFO. We've got the amp set like that, and then just some vibrato in unison, a bit of chorus and reverb, and then a little high pass. And then on this layer, it's this little FM pad, which is made with 3 sine waves. You can see detune a little bit at different octaves, and then it's a low pass filter, and then there's an LFO on the filter cutoff and the volume of oscillator beats. You're getting a lot of movement in this, and that's a big part of this too, is the movement of this layer and the movement of this layer combining, right? We got a bit of chorus and reverb on that, and then on the group we just have a high pass with this EQ, and then just a compressor side chaining these to the side chain, and then the last layer that we have down here is the ARP. Now, this ARP is pretty crazy, obviously. It's really more so just fitting into this E minor scale, but the secret here is that the root note is not E, right? Like, you can see, we're actually going down. The root note here is the 5th, technically. But it's all just notes in that scale. And really what it comes down to is, like, the phrasing. Like, you can see the way this goes down. Like, we start here, it's like this big, broad thing. And then it goes even smaller. And then here, it's super small. And then also, like, these transitions at the end, like, you know, these all, like, I could say, like, oh, this is the 5th and this is the 6th and all that. But really, like, it's not that, like, yes, that is important. It's really more about using your ear, though, and just, like, following the key, and then creating, like, just understanding, like, okay, we need to have, like, that big transition there in the end. Versus, like, oh, yeah, like, you know, at the end, you go to the 5th because some dude that was writing a music book 100 years ago decided that sounded wispy. You know, like, what does that even mean, dude? Like, use your ear. It's very simple, actually. Even if you just, like, Google, like, E minor scale, you know, you could do this without even having the knowledge. It's just not, like, such a textbook thing that I think people think it is. Now, for the actual sound on this one, it's made with wavetable. So we got a saw wave with a ton of unison, and then a low pass filter with a nice plucky envelope. We've got a bit of echo, and then it's really just being sidechained. You know, it's not a whole lot. This one's really more about the notes, and yeah. That's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, literally every single thing from this video is available at the top of the description. Now, go grab this. It really helps support me. Plus, this is something that you can do right immediately now that will take your tracks to the next level today. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Every little bit helps, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.